everyone, this is Simone Collins with Malcolm Collins. I'm taking over the stream today because I have found that actually you are a bad parent if you deny your child a phone and screens, and that the good parents will do it because guess what? Kids are better off when they have social media access, when they have phones and tablets and video games and
Define better off. We're talking about studies here.
They have less nihilism and better self-esteem. They spend more time with their friends. They spend more time playing sports. They are just freaking better off with the screens. And all these people, Jonathan Haidt, who insist that the screens are the end, are wrong. Although we will go through their arguments and talk through some of the nuance. But first, I want to get to this study because I'm so excited about it. It's very vindicating because we are famous for being profiled by The Guardian and criticized by everyone on social media, not only for beating our children, but for having them walking around the house with iPads chained to their necks.
I need to clarify, barely beating our children.
But it was a light slap.
It was a mild beating.
Oh my God.
Soccer bopper. You can sock all day and bop all night.
So first, like huge thanks to Reason Magazine, which covered this article really well. And what they're covering is a new, as of April 2025 study called Kids with Smartphones Are Less Depressed, Anxious, and Bullied Than Peers Without Them. So first, huge hat tip to Reason Magazine for covering this research, which was done by a bunch of researchers at the University of South Florida. This was published in April, so this just came out. And these researchers investigated smartphone ownership among 11 to 13-year-olds. So these are extremely vulnerable children who are not at all grown up and mature enough to handle social media. And they're checking out how they did. So, okay, they did survey them. But they surveyed a good sample size. They surveyed 1,510 kids from Florida, age 11 to 13. And basically, on almost every metric measuring well-being, smartphone owning kids showed better results. So here are some examples. You're not surprised at all.
So this isn't like older kids. This isn't like teens. This is 11 to 13.
This is just as puberty is setting in. So I would actually argue that these are some of the most vulnerable years. I don't know how this period was for you, but it was tough for me. Maybe not for you. I don't know.
Well, I can't imagine if I didn't have a smartphone. I mean, I didn't have a smartphone.
You didn't have a smartphone.
I didn't have whatever was cool. This would be. Like
I didn't have a smartphone, and it was tough. Okay.
Not having like AIM during that period, being one of the outcasts.
Oh my gosh! Actually, AIM really was like one of my few sources of comfort, and I think this is part of it. And we're getting into it. So, kids with smartphones.
Oh my God, do you remember all those sounds from AIM that like ding,
like and the door opening?
Like a friend would come in and you'd
that dopamine rush when you hear the door opening and maybe that person you have a crush on just logged on.
Oh my God. Did you have crushes on people back then?
100%. His username was Warped Stygian, and he ended up dating one of my best friends at the time. So that was a little awkward.
Oh
yeah.
Did you think he'd like talk to you? Did he ever talk to you on AIM?
Oh, like way late into the night. He was clearly like, there was emotional cheating going on at the very least, if they two were dating at that same time. Those were like my first late night chats, which I think for like any young person, even today, the venue has changed, but the thrill of the conversation
late
is
night
not.
Chat has that. Yeah. Well, okay, so hold on. What did he end up doing with his life?
Yeah, I have no idea.
We'll check it before the end of this.
I don't even remember what his name was. He didn't have a very easy life. Like he lived at the poverty line, had a single mother. So, I hope he's doing well. I wish him well. As I wish well the
never wish somebody who didn't date you well. Simone, you need to wish the fury upon them.
Well, I wish both of them well. I can look up my friend. I think she had a kid actually pretty young. So good for her, right? Like
right, yeah, doing the prenatalist thing, right?
Yeah, right. And again, goes to show like income does not correlate with
everyone in the AIM world who lived at that. They know that door opening and it's always like, is it my crush? Like, are we gonna talk? Are we gonna it's like ding, and it's like, oh my God, it's my crush.
Yeah.
Oh my God, like what are we doing?
So exciting. Oh yeah, that killed me. I'm so glad we both had AIM days. And again, like for us, even at that age, And I would say chat rooms at our age were way more dangerous. So gosh, it was in the early noughties, like around 2001, I guess, when we're doing this. Chat rooms at the time when we were first going online, one of the first things that people would ask you in an anonymous chat room, which is pretty much what all of them were at the time online, was ASL. Do you remember that? ASL.
Age, sex, location, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, wait, what?
That actually sounds like a great thing, like age, sex, location. I'm going to find you.
Well, actually, so way back in the day, way before the internet, there were some comic books that kids would get subscriptions to. And at the end of them, many of them would be little published profiles of kids with their name and address and picture. So I don't know, man.
Like, come on, hang out with me, bro.
Predators had it so easy back then. I don't know.
Yes!
Everyone's talking about Predators now.
Just advertise themselves in comic books.
It's just amazing. Okay, Indy, go play with it. Go play. Look over there. Okay, let's see if she can occupy herself. Tried to set up a puzzle game for her. But anyway, let's get back to this study conducted by these wonderful, brave researchers at the University of South Florida. Again, this is Florida teens, 11 to 13. And
Florida teens. So these aren't like mentally stable teens, let's mind you, right?
Yeah, I do want to kind of caveat this of like, okay, but this is Florida. Like, for real, what else are you going to do? You can't go outside. It's too hot. So I don't know. Like, and they do, the next step, I should say, that these researchers want to take is they want to take this study nationwide. And I am very keen to see their follow-on research, because Florida is a very strange place. Everyone's heard of Florida, man, right? Like, it is not a normal place for healthy people in our argument. I mean, we lived there and we got out. But anyway, the research found, the survey found that kids with smartphones, tablets, social media usage, and video game play were all more likely to spend more in-person time with friends. So kids with smartphones, for example, spend an average of 3 days a week playing with friends, whereas the kids without them spend an average of 2 days a week with friends. What? How is this possible?
Oh, you cut the kid's tongue off. They have less friends. So
I know. How are they going to coordinate if they're not on their freaking smartphone? How are they going to know where the kids are hanging out if they're not on? I know. I'm just saying.
I am shaming parents. Yeah. I am shaming parents who don't give your kids
for real
social media.
For real. Yeah. Also, so 80% of smartphone owners plus 82% of tablet owners reported feeling good about themselves. Okay. This is in light of the whole Facebook leak and Instagram's making girls feel terrible. No, I'm sorry. Between 80 and 82% of basically screen owners report feeling good about themselves versus 69% without smartphones and 71% without tablets. So these are significant differences.
This
the people
like
without the screens feel worse about themselves.
I can't even believe it. This is wild. It's so validating. This is like the parents who deny their kids alcohol.
Yeah. So let's also get to the nihilism. All right. 26% of smartphone-free kids. So these are the lower screen kids agreed with the statement, "Life often feels meaningless." So more than a quarter.
Okay.
Are like falling in nihilism versus 18% of smartphone users. So more like 1 out of 5. All right.
What?
So like
it's so much less.
I know. And it's honestly like some of this surprises me. I'm like, I don't know. Like there is a lot of nihilism on the internet right now. And
no. I don't think that's what it is. I think the people are misunderstanding broader culture for internet. As I've said often, within my friend circles, the ones who were most online and online first have had the most persistent resistance to the mental health crisis caused by the internet.
Yeah. Well, the internet is a place where you allow your joie de vivre to flourish. It is where your enthusiasms flourish. Like we see how our kids use social media now, and they use it to explore things that they love and then deepen their own enjoyment of those things IRL. For example, Octavian got really into toy soldier videos on YouTube. And like literally there's this one dad who just puts a GoPro on his head and then plays with toy soldiers and his kids. And it's really sweet. It's so sweet.
And now I don't need to play with him.
You do still play with, but then like now he like has all these new scenarios of gameplay, and he's like, I'm going to do this with my toy soldiers and that with my toy soldiers. And it's the same with X shotguns. It's the same with Minecraft. And it's where they like, this is where you get that spark, and it's where you deepen it. And it's I think, when you play in isolation without that additional inspiration, I think you're going to get more of that sadness. Okay, so also here's a really big one, right? Because everyone talks about cyberbullying, right? Oh, everyone's so stressed out with cyberbullying.
I would cyberbully the person who's not online. I'm going to tell you that. The person.
Well, no, and that's the thing, though. Okay, so 32% of smartphone-free kids, so like almost a third, reported that someone had spread rumors or lies about them online, compared to 18% of those with phones. So you're totally right. When you're not there to clap back, when you're not there to defend yourself, you get bullied, and you still are being cyberbullied. It's not like they're not aware of that. And of course, actually, they're probably, maybe more of them are bullied.
No, these kids, because here's the thing, they're the little pussy kids. And I remember these kids when I was growing up. They're the kids whose parents are like, oh, you can't engage with modern media. Oh, you can't watch, Disney. Oh, you can't watch whatever. Like, you can't read Harry Potter. Like, of course these kids are getting bullied. Like, yeah. What are you even thinking? And it's okay. Like, it's okay for your kids to be bullied. You want to put them in an environment where they can be bullied and they can get stronger for it. Yeah. But you want them to have a way to defend themselves. Like, you don't want them to be bullied because you clipped their wings.
Yeah. No, and there's also this whole genre, actually. It's a small one, but on social media where parents are like really proud of how they've taught their kids to bully back, which is great. And then they try to sit around and wait for their kids to get insulted to see what they say. Like, one guy recorded his kid like at a little baseball diamond, and some other kid was like, "Your dick is the size of a Tic Tac," and the kid's like, "Yeah, that's why your mom's breath smells so good." Like, you don't get that if you don't sharpen your child. You got to prepare them.
That is a good one, by the way. I love that the kid came up with that. My kid came up with that off the spot. I'd be so proud.
No, right?
I'd share that online.
But you don't develop that if you do not play in rough and tumble environments online. You can't sharpen yourself. Where do you get those ideas if you're just sitting there thinking? And there's been a lot of research done. You actually opened my eyes to this on what did people do before they were smartphones? Because everyone's like, oh, it's so disgusting. People can't just wait in line at the store without staring at their phones. People can't just sit and wait for a plane without staring at their phones. People are so baller for raw dogging a flight. Okay, what are they doing? They're just sitting there. All right, maybe they're imagining something. Like, they're not learning anything new. They're not getting exposed to new ideas.
You're wrong about this. There's some great old pictures of this, of what were people doing before smartphones.
Okay.
And everyone is looking at a newspaper or book.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you could, and when you didn't have one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, just staring into space. That's certainly better for you.
Yeah, let's have our kids do that. Because, I mean, most, and people are, these kids, little toddlers who are given iPads. Well, they can't read. You can be like, read a book. No. Okay. And we'll get to that more too, because it sort of comes into the criticisms of social media. But I also want to point out that heavy social media users in this Florida kid survey were more likely than lighter social media users to report exercising or playing sports at least once a day. So 50% of the heavy social media users.
Well, of course, they got to look buff.
Actually, yeah, versus 31%. So the lighter social media users.
I remember, I have a vivid memory as a young boy of exercising a lot in a gym and then checking my biceps in the mirror to make sure I looked good. And the thing is they never really changed that much. No matter how much effort I put in, nothing ever you'd get a bit more tone.
Careful, Malcolm. All those lift bro people are gonna come out.
Oh yeah, you did it. But and look, I've got members of my family who are fairly buff. I know if I actually put in the effort, but I feel like I put in enough effort back then. I put in 30, 45 minutes a day. That's a lot.
Well, I think it's also underrated how much practical, or I guess you could say applied weightlifting we do. Because we are constantly hauling around our children.
What I mean by this is even if I put in a lot, I remember how scrawny I still looked in the mirror, right? It wasn't oh, okay, I remember being happy for the slightest bit of definition.
Yeah, but here's the thing. So just like women seem to think these days, based on what they see on social media, are just trends, that contouring is necessary. And a lot of women claim that it's for male audiences. No. That kind of makeup.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I also
same with weightlifting. Men think somehow and again, this is, I think that, they just make these assumptions when they're trying to just sew it, that weightlifting makes them sexier to women. No, this is a man-to-man signaling thing. Just like makeup, it beyond the very basics, is a woman-to-woman signaling thing, period.
Oh, no, absolutely. And the point I'm making here is that when I did all of this, no girl had even kissed me. No girl had shown any interest in me. No girl. This is not.
Now, this was before. Yeah, right. Your breakthrough was when you discovered that leaning into your nerd persona.
Okay, no, I was like, oh, the nerd persona is what they like.
That's it. That's it.
Anyway, continue.
So let's get. So I will say, because obviously some of this stuff is just, it seems impossibly good. I feel like Florida has something to do with it. Maybe we might have more moderated results when they go nationwide. We'll see. But there were some negative things, and I think the negative things are super straightforward and kind of no duh. So the one thing they found was, obviously, if kids slept with their phones, they got less sleep. Like, thank you, Captain Obvious. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, you probably shouldn't sleep with your phone. Like, adults shouldn't sleep. No one should sleep with their phones. They also found that heavy game.
Well, you can look. Yeah. The problem with sleeping with your phone is you don't want to risk it getting pregnant.
That was a dad joke.
That was a dad joke.
They also found that heavy gamers and social media users reported more sleep problems. So children who often post to social media platforms were found in this research to be twice as likely as those who never or rarely post, to report moderate or severe symptoms of depression, 54 versus 25%, moderate or severe symptoms of anxiety, 50 to 24%, or having sleep issues. But they also point out that this is a correlatory and not causational thing. Of course, we're just looking at correlations. And I think that people who have other problems in life will do things excessively, like typically excessive anything, if it's not like a sign of just an addictive personality, is often a sign of, trying to bury your depression and anxiety that were already there because your life sucks. And you and I were just talking today about how the school system, the legacy and industrial school system, are just so bad that even you, the renegade, and I, the perfect girl who followed all the rules, we're both completely miserable at school. And it was the depression that we felt.
Yeah.
Which was in I think both of our cases clinical, right? I think you were diagnosed as depressed.
Well, yeah, but I don't believe in clinical.
Well, but anyway, it was measured as clinical depression, was entirely situational. Mine at least went away as soon as I got out of school. So
yeah, no, I all of you. This is the thing. I actually used to grind my teeth severely, right? Like it was causing major issues, and I had to wear a night guard.
Yeah, he had to wear those like football player.
And you know when I stopped wearing my night guard is when I started dating Simone.
It's so romantic.
And I've never needed to wear it since. And, somebody could be like, were you really that less stressed? Like, apparently sleep in me couldn't deal with life back then. I just ground my teeth every night. And then I met Simone and I started sleeping with, and this was early in our relationship too. Not like after we had I'd say first 5 months of our relationship. And I was just like, I don't need to wear this anymore. And I never needed to wear it again. And I remember before that, I didn't wear it one night and I broke one of my teeth.
Oh, that's awful.
And that's why I wore it so fastidiously after that, because I was so freaked out about it happening again.
Yeah, that is terrifying. It's breaking a tooth. I can't even. Anyway, so also they found that frequent social media posters were more likely to report sleep issues and symptoms of depression and anxiety. But again, I think anyone who does something in excess may be a symptom of some other underlying issue. So I'm not giving that too much credence. Finally, I wanted to point out just some interesting findings that are neither here nor there from the research, that it was just okay.
Tell me.
So there were significant shifts in app usage depending on household income. So can you guess what was used most amongst the kids in households with an annual income of $50,000 or less?
Hold on. TikTok.
No.
YouTube?
YouTube was one of them. The other one you're not going to guess is Roblox. But I kind of dig it. I think I get a very low class feel from Roblox.
Roblox does feel local. I don't know what
it feels very well. It feels very. It's like the Minions of children. It's like very. I don't want to say cruise ship human, because actually cruise ships are very expensive. But I want it's not the intellectuals world, if I may.
Yes.
All right. Minecraft is more of an intellectuals world. There are other games. So
influencers.
So can you imagine what kids used most from higher income households?
No idea.
Think about your mother. What platforms was she really big on?
She was on Insta.
And TikTok.
TikTok, really?
So I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, the Winell platforms.
Like, well, those are the ones that my like cousins and stuff all use, like the young ones.
Yeah, and they're all like super freaking,
Well,
like all the photos of them were like, this is me in Cannes, this is me in Italy, this is me in the house in Maine. Like they're all they're so like, what I'm so concerned about is that I can't remember the name for this like short-term profession of hot girls on Instagram who during college just get invited to really expensive clubs by club promoters to basically be like sexy women at tables with like really wealthy guys buying bottle service. But like, I feel like they don't realize that they're trying to audition for that, but they are, by trying to do what's trendy, subconsciously auditioning for that. And
No,
I'm just about to start college, and I'm like, no.
Like, wait. It's like, stop it.
Although, like, I also read this great blog post by a young woman who just interviewed a bunch of her friends who actually did that, and they're like, I mean, it was fine. Like, I didn't get addicted to the drugs. Like, it was just fun, and then like it was over. So I don't know.
It's interesting that it's so different from me. There's a few people in my family that have taken this other route, which is like in my generation was like the goth route, right? Like,
yeah, your family doesn't.
In this generation, what is it? Like in a generation before, it's like that brony route. In this generation, what is it? It's the center right route. Like, no, genuinely, I think being a center right like Gen Alpha person is about equivalent to like being a goth or punk Gen Alpha person in our generation.
Yeah. So there's another social class / income related finding that I thought was interesting. They found that kids from higher income households were also significantly more likely to post publicly on social media. So 77% of kids from the highest income households posted publicly versus 56% among kids from the lowest income households. So now every time I like click to a colleague or friend's private social media feed, I'm going to be like, hello class.
Hello class.
I mean, I know we have lots of wealthy friends who decide to go private and you're like, my privacy.
No, like, I hate that. We always go like, ooh, my privacy is so important to me. Whenever they're talking about, we're like, you guys suck. Like, it's so lame.
And another thing, it's partially related to income and it's partially related to gender. They found a large percentage of kids overall agreed with the sentiment life often feels meaningless, with agreement significantly higher among boys, which surprised me because Jonathan Haidt's whole thing is like girls are getting hit harder, whereas 23% of boys versus 13%
is Jonathan Haidt full of a big bag of poop?
Not exactly. We're going to get into that. But like 23% of boys reported feeling this versus 16% of girls. And then among kids from higher income households, more of them were feeling this nihilism. 31% in high income households making 150.
Like the higher income kids are all like mentally messed up right now.
Yeah, and that's why like spoonies are all like upper middle class girls.
White girls. Oh yeah, no, of course they are. Yeah.
And then only 10% of the kids in households making 10K or 50K or below as household income reported this that they identified with the sentiment life often feels meaningless, which I just like.
Which shows, people are going to see all this and they're going to be like, oh, the rich kids are online more. That's why you see the mental health more among the people who are online more. And what we're pointing out here is no, actually you have a counter trend to that. It really is being online more and having access to these online environments increases your mental health at this age within this current cultural context.
Well, there are confounding factors. I think what this is more parsing out is that, what this is pointing out is being wealthy can associate you, I think, with some cultures that are more toxic, and that being closer to the lower income range may separate you more from what I would consider to be the urban monoculture. I think the urban monoculture is inherently a culture of wealth and privilege. And I just see that as more as like evidence that lower income distances you from the urban monoculture and also reduces your feelings of nihilism. So in terms of just in general, the researchers take away advice to people, which I think is super solid because screens are great, but they're not perfect. They say one, it's actually fine to let kids as young as 11 have smartphones. Fantastic. But
no, not fine. Protect it.
No, yeah, we're saying, I mean, we personally would say below that age is great, but they only survey kids 11
This
to
is
13.
what I say about kids. I think it's really dangerous to allow kids to have friends that are AI.
Dangerous? No, it's good to have friends who are AI. We don't want real
who
friends.
are not AIs.
Oh, yeah.
I think giving your kids real humans will reject them. Humans are gross. Humans can grape them. AIs do none of that.
Yeah. AIs don't. Well, but when they do, it's in the way you want, you know.
Oh God. Okay. Anyway, continue. Yeah, go into this. Yeah.
But so, like, yes, phone's good, but don't let your kids sleep with your phones, which is great. They also they discourage having young children post publicly on social platforms. I disagree with this, and we've talked about this in other episodes, but we think that one of the only ways that you are going to survive in the post AI economy is to have a strong online reputation and to be really known for something and to be able to make custom products and provide custom experiences that other people aren't known for doing, because that's the only way, either from wealthy people living in their walled gardens or your local community is going to know to buy services or products from you. I disagree with him on that, but I don't disagree with him on the sleep thing. And what we do, of course, is like we're really careful about making sure that there's, you know, screen access is limited. It's very time gated, and I think that's a good thing.
Well, I mean, we're building new AI products for our kids right now that allow them to just like talk to an AI that will constantly draw them back to educational topics. And so we'll see when that's built and that can be available to you guys. And I don't understand why we're the only ones making this stuff. Like, is everyone else retarded?
So what we see among our friend group, which is, you know, highly educated, wealthy elites, is screen bad. You know,
it's because they're losers. They're losers. That's why. And this is a level of wealthy beyond what they consider wealthy in this study, right? Like,
yeah, because they consider wealthy making over $150,000. These are people
who generally are making like $1 million plus a year.
Yeah, they have like unlimited L to MD sunscreen sitting around their house. It's insane.
L to MD sunscreen. Oh yeah, I remember we went to it for that. You're like, this is insane. Why are you?
I feel like I'm looking at gold bricks sitting on a shelf. Yeah, I don't know. Like my indicators of wealth are a little bit different. Just like I think you and I think like true wealth is never thinking twice about ordering guac at a restaurant. But I don't know if we've ever reached some level of wealth where we.
Well, no, because we are so like whenever we make more money, we always just spend it on like our companies and stuff. You know,
it just goes away. Yeah. But whatever, that's all good. So I also want to get into though, like why are all these wealthy elite people like phone bad? And I partially,
what data are they looking at?
What data are they? And I think mostly they're sitting and listening to Jonathan Haidt and being like, yes, because he is the author of the book, The Anxious Generation. So like he had recently this huge push to talk about what he describes as the great rewiring of childhood, in which play-based childhood is being supplanted by a phone-based childhood. So among other things, he notes a decline in time spent.
Hold on. I actually need to take a step back from this and yell at him. So our kids, if they go outside and they play in the creek without us monitoring them, and we need to be monitoring all of them at once, which is like, you can't do that for that long. And this is what I used to do as a kid. At their age, I just go play outside. I go play with the dogs, the local dogs. I go dig up things. I'd make little dams. They'll have CPS called on them. I'll have the cops called on me.
Yeah.
I put my kids on Minecraft. That's exactly what they're doing. When my little boy shows me what he's doing on Minecraft, it's like, oh, look, I found out if you give the dog a bone, he likes you more. It's like, oh, look, I found out that when you pour water on lava, it like makes stone. Oh, look, they are exploring and engaging with the environment. And if you deny a kid both playing outside and Minecraft, you've denied them the entire experience. But continue.
Yeah, no, I mean, yes, but we'll go deeper on this. But yeah, he argues that there's been a decline in time spent with friends since 2010. But again, this research shows that the kids with smartphones spend more time with kids. Anyway, we'll keep going. He also argues that girls are more affected by social media due to social comparison and cyberbullying, while boys are more impacted by, and here we go again, gaming and pornography, leading to social withdrawal and
hold on. We
failure
need to take
to
a few
launch.
notes here. The girls being more impacted. We actually saw this in another episode. I don't know if it'll run before this one or not, but what we found in that episode is that social media affected your mental health much more dramatically if you were progressive than if you were conservative.
Yeah. And that really shows just how much of this is urban monoculture. It's cultural, and the urban monoculture is a culture that makes mental health problems
fester. The point I'm making is this is why girls are more negatively affected by it. Not because girls are intrinsically
the political leanings.
Their political leanings are more leftist, and that's why they're more negatively affected by it. In terms of the gaming and pornography thing, a lot of what people say about like how, so for example, if you go to a prison and you look at the grapists versus the non-grapists, okay? Grapists typically started engaging with pornography at a much later age than the non-grapists.
Yeah.
Like,
that's why in our marriage contract, this is actually one of the first things that was in our marriage contract was, are we going to restrict our children's access to erotic material? And there was never any conflict. It's just like, no, obviously not. That's obviously not. Idea.
I don't want them to grow up to be PDA files and grapists, because
we knew this intuitively, even just when like negotiating points.
Right. Yeah, sorry, it's just like really clear in the data. I understand that like some people are like, oh, but my intuition. Well, your intuition is wrong. Okay. This is something that has been studied extensively, and restricting access increases the rate of being interested in children, being interested in being interested in like, oh my God, it's so horrifying. In like the Czech Republic, when they made it legal again, I want to say it was the Czech Republic, right? The amount of child assault dropped by 50%. And this result has been seen multiple times across multiple countries. Yeah. Being anti-porn is being pro-child rape. And you can be like, well, aesthetically, I'm against both. That's a bit like being like, well, you know, I'm anti-nuclear and pro-environment. It's like, okay, like that may work with your base, but realistically, that proves you don't actually care about either.
Yeah. Yeah, it's performative, and that really bothers us. So I think, a lot of this comes down to people misattributing problems of modern culture and over-regulation of parenting to social media and screen use, when really that's not it at all. So some of the studies, for example, that highlights, one is from 2020 called Underestimating Digital Media Harm, published in the journal Nature Human Behavior, so very respectable journal. The finding basically of the study was that they wanted to critique earlier research, like 2019 research, that downplayed social media's impact, arguing that social media use, especially among girls, shows stronger correlations with depression and anxiety when controlling only for demographic variables. They countered claims that effects are as trivial as, quote unquote, eating potatoes, when apparently that's kind of what turned out to be true. And I think the problem is with this, correlation, not causation. They saw that people who used a lot of social media, experienced problems, but also like people who masturbate too much, people who eat too much, people who exercise too much, who do anything too much, probably have other problems. And it's just really annoying to me that was cited. So he also cites another 2020 study called Commentary, Screens, Teens, and Psychological Well-Being, published in Frontiers in Psychology, again, a very respected journal. This study analyzes time use diary studies, and they found that heavy screen use correlates with reduced well-being, particularly for girls. But again, if there's a girl who's spending 5+ hours on her phone every day, something's probably wrong. Like, she's alone, she's isolated, she doesn't have other things to do.
Doesn't have friends. That means she doesn't have a community. That means she doesn't have, oh my God, siblings.
Yeah, would you not be shocked that she has problems? Yeah, like obviously, if you have 5 hours to do that, you're being deprived of something. They also, so Haidt also in his book and work in general cites a lot the British Millennium Cohort Study, which found that among 19,000 children born between 2000 and 2002, girls spending over 5 hours a day on social media were 3 times more likely to be depressed than non-users, and the correlation was weaker for boys. But again, like, this is just what we said. This is another one of those issues. And then he also referred to the 2021 Facebook leak. I think this is a little bit more damning, because basically internal meta research showed that Instagram harmed teen girls' mental health, particularly their body image. And yeah, they continued to
body image. What?
Well, and that's it. I mean, I just really don't know that. Like, I think it's very hard to be a teen girl and not have some form of body dysmorphia. Like, I had body dysmorphia, and you know, if like a therapist or some psychologist were to analyze me, they would probably think it's from the manga I read, and they'd be like, "Oh, it's the manga that's causing it." No, I was going through puberty. I had body dysmorphia because I hated my body, and it's very normal. Like, I just
today they'd say it's because you're trans.
so yeah, well, yeah, that too. But here they're just
you need to be
blaming it on Instagram.
sterilized chemically. That's the only solution.
Like, girls just, I mean, you know, there are always ideals that girls are going to turn to somewhere, and there's going to be problems, and just, you know, like I just, yeah, it's I get it. I do think that Instagram can even make me sometimes feel like I need to hold myself to a higher standard. I don't think that's really a bad thing, and I don't think Instagram makes my life worse. So then he also looked at some Pew Research Center research that found that half of teens reported feeling addicted to their phones, and nearly 100% of US teens were on smartphones, with half reporting that they were constantly, quote unquote, constantly on their smartphones. I think that this is one of those things where, like, you can go back in time and find writers decrying the overuse of books and periodicals, and then the radio.
No, so for people who don't know this, the ways that people are freaking out about this stuff today, they used to freak out about books. They'd be like, "Oh,
and radio, and phones,
like,
and television."
Yeah, but books is, I think, the thing where everyone today is going to be like, okay, that was clearly stupid. But what was interesting about the book freak out is that they said it disproportionately affected women.
Well, you can even kind of see this in the trope of Belle in Beauty and the Beast being so stuck in her books, and it was like, this girl has a problem. She wants to get rid of her books.
Into her
And then she goes to the Beast's house, and he has like the equivalent of, like, I don't know, it's like a social media house.
It is a social media house. She's like, oh, he's got a library. It's like, oh, he's got on the smartphone.
I don't even know. It's just like, oh, he is like the best internet. It's just so strange. And then Haidt also looked at international data on mental health trends, pointing out that anxiety increased 134% and depression 106% among US youth from 2010 to 2018, with Gen Z, born post 1995, hit hardest with the 139% increase. He also cited similar trends in the UK. Now, yeah, totally. But it's not the screens, it's the culture.
It's progressivism, and we've shown this. When you are online a ton and you are a conservative, it doesn't negatively affect your mental health. If you're online a ton and you are a progressive, it does. No wonder it is negatively affecting girls more. He didn't control for that. So this Haidt guy sounds like a bit of a...
No, he's great. I mean, he's very smart. And I mean, and I think, you know, we're being a little bit too mean here, because he does have this subtle, like, he argues that, like, you need to have kids interact with each other and play outside. And what I love about this new research is it's like, yes, and these things go together. That the kids who have the phones also exercise more, play with their friends more, have better self-esteem, have lower nihilism.
No. What gets me is that he didn't run this study. He could have run this study, and he didn't. Because it wouldn't have
to confirm.
All of his stuff was always correlational, and he could have just said, okay, let's separate these two groups.
I mean, I didn't admittedly look for research that looked for causation, that like had some kind of double-blind study where some kids were deprived of social.
I don't know. This whole thing, I don't like it. I don't like these anti-tech people.
I will say, you know, there was actually, though, I just want to point out that some schools like had concerted let's remove all screens programs that really curtailed students' social media use, and it didn't help them.
And there was one school that did AI tutoring for kids, and it bumped them into the top 1% of students in the state.
Right. And that also, like, studies have shown that AI therapists perform better than real therapists for people. So like, we were totally right. We were totally right to chain iPads around our kids.
Simone, we will replace you. And I'm okay with that. You know, you're we will raise stronger, more sturdy children. And time, you can look at our children when they grow up. You know, you can accuse them, oh, look at your kids. They all ended up messed up. Maybe. But if they didn't, then we were right and you were wrong.
I mean, yeah. But so here's what I think happened. I think Haidt if we were talking with him and he'd be like, yeah, hey, like I recognize this. The argument I'm making is that parents need to let their kids play outside more. The problem, of course, is that parents clap back with like, yes, and we're not allowed to. We will get arrested. We can't let our kids play outside. And so this is just a really difficult situation. It just bothers me that a huge signaler in parenting communities is, we don't do screens. I don't allow my children to be on screens. And they're setting up their kids for, I think, a lot of harm, because one, here we're seeing that kids are more socially isolated, more nihilistic.
Oh, come on. The reason this guy has these is he only has 2 kids.
Yeah.
Of course, he doesn't know. Quite normal. You can't just let kids play outside in the current like legal climate. Like,
well, one thing I want to say too, though, is that I think there are some exceptions. So I know some parents who do have strict no screen policies, but they also exist within like extremely tight knit religious communities. And so their kids are like constantly interacting with people and themselves. They have big families.
I think that's fine if you're in like an extremely.
Yeah, but like most kids are, you know, a single child, or they have one sibling, and it's often like more than often than not, I've seen like pretty big age gaps with siblings these days too, which is like, that means you don't really have a close friend. You just kind of have a competitor for attention that annoys you and you can't really relate to, which is extra difficult and sad. That seems like the worst type of sibling to have, is one that has like an age gap where you guys just can't play together and really relate, which is why we try to have boy, boy, girl, girl side by side, so they can at least have like one super close friend that they can really, really strongly relate to, that's of the same gender, so they can go through those things together. But yes, like I'm okay with holier than thou parents being like, I don't do screens, when their kids have all these other things to do in strong religious communities, but that's just not the norm in the United States and in many parts of Europe. So all of our like, and again, all those wealthy, well-educated parents that we're thinking of, they don't do that. They're not like that. These are the people with 2 kids max, and these kids are like, I just can't imagine like the frustration they're going through, and I feel really bad. But hopefully this research will get to them. Reason Mag is pretty well read among these types of people, right? So like, hopefully it'll get to them, right?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Anyway, here's a fun thing from today. Is yesterday you did an interview with ABC.
Can you? Yeah, it was the oddest thing. So yeah, this is you know, ABC. It's owned by Disney. They wanted to do a segment on the executive orders we submitted and the Trump administration considering pronatalist policy, and they're like, hey, you know, we want to run this in the morning, and it's going to go on our news segment, and like, but we have to record tonight. And I'm like, why? Like, I don't get it. Like, how do we do this? And they're like, just like, can you come on at 8? And so I do, and I joined this Zoom call, and I'm met by a really nice young man. Like, he was just so sweet and so patient and so kind. But like on the call was him, and I could see him sitting alone in a giant like ABC studio, like classic like newsroom for an old legacy news publication. No one else there, just empty desks, because he was doing the night shift, where it looks like what they do is they just prepare all of the segments for the morning news show, which starts at 4 a.m. ahead of time. And then I think what happens is the newscasters pretend to interview people. Like, I haven't actually seen this segment.
No, but I love this. They're like, why is news dying? Where's the authenticity? Oh, I'll tell you where the authenticity is. It's right here, you mother.
Well, because what seems to have happened is what he did is there was also like, I guess, a producer on the phone too, because he was like talking with someone else the whole time of being like,
that's so creepy. That is dystopia that he'd like go up.
Yeah, I'm like, I couldn't see or hear this producer, but the producer was telling him what to do. And then he'd ask me a question and I would give my answer, and he asked another question. And what seems to happen is he recorded a bunch of answers. And what I think was going to happen was that then like the reporter that next morning would act as though she's asking me the questions. And then I would show up as the talking head with that. And yeah, like to your point, if that's what happened, and I want to see this segment, that's not, you know, that's not authentic media. That's not, I think that's not what people are here for. They want to see real live conversations. And of course, to be fair, other media outlets had us on live. CNN's Situation Room had us on live today with Indy screaming and everything. And then who is it that was here this afternoon?
What was it? This was something things or something like that. What was it?
They didn't reach out to me, so I have no idea who they are.
Some big news. Okay, I'll look it up. It's in my notes here. It's some big news station.
but they actually came out and interviewed. And so I guess some legacy media is like really doing original reporting, but others, like, even when they get original sources, and you still have to give credit to anyone who actually gives us a chance to comment and talk. But it was just such a weird process of like, wait, so I'm speaking with a young associate working for Disney, and then his like mysterious producer who's only talking to him.
Inside Edition, by the way. That's what it was.
Inside Edition. Okay, well, they were great, very professional. And then again, like, this kid working for Disney also was great. It was just really weird the way it was done. Just like recording me doing some like talking head things, and then I guess they're splicing it into their news show, making it look more authentic and live without it actually being live, which I get. Like, it is easier, especially when it's early in the morning. Most people aren't going to wake up at 4 a.m. and do a live interview. So, but I always wonder when I watch the news, like, how these things are going. And it's interesting to see the different ways they play out. Like when we were on CNN today, joining the call was really weird, because normally on shows and podcasts, you join a Zoom call and you can see everyone. Whereas with CNN, like, they have this, their special proprietary link to join. And you're just looking at this gray screen with some instructions on it. And then you just...
Yeah, that was like, I almost felt like unprofessional and insulting. I was like, what are you guys doing?
Well, I think they don't want people to be distracted by their faces.
No, that's not what it is. They just don't care. They don't care about anything feeling authentic. They don't care about anything touching the
I don't know. I mean, I remember, so I used to listen to NPR like throughout my entire, it was like the wallpaper of my childhood, the audio wallpaper of my childhood. And big issue that happened with people calling in is they kept having to say, like, turn off your radio, because they would be listening to themselves as they talked on the radio, and then getting distracted and just being like, oh my God, I'm on the radio. And I think maybe there's like this thing with, people on CNN.
Feedback, sweetheart.
I don't think it was just that, because you couldn't hear it as a listener, even when it was live.
Yeah.
I don't know. All I'm saying is I just find this contrast between new and old media to be really interesting. And I love that the Trump administration has added to the fringes.
Oh yeah, they did such a great job with the press corps. It's amazing.
Yeah, so what they've done, for those who don't know, is in the White House press briefing room, there traditionally has been this audience of chairs that is all dedicated to legacy media companies. Like, only the privileged and the establishment get to be there. Now they're allowing standing room only space at the fringes, where they have a rotational group of new media reporters. And this is people, podcasters, Substack writers, YouTubers, TikTokers, sit and actually ask questions. And they field about 25% of their questions from this fringe group, which is a really big deal. And I mean, the legacy media freaking hates it, because they used to have, all the question time, all of the respect. But I think that the Trump administration, and I'm sure future administrations will do this too, recognizes that the audiences are not necessarily watching a lot of these legacy news channels. And I mean, we see this, like, you see some legacy news channels get like millions of views. Yes. But then, like, there are some that, like, I would be surprised if they got 3,000 views for a news segment.
Oh, no, I agree. I know. I actually think that most only get about 3,000 views per news segment.
Yeah.
When I see.
Yeah. So interesting times, very interesting times. But yeah, I'm just so thrilled. I feel so vindicated that, like, okay, again, social media, it's not about sheltering. It's about annotation. It is about showing how to use it productively. Simone, it is about.
I agree. It's not about sheltering. It's about beating. You need to lightly beat your child
with the iPad, with the device.
With the device.
That's why you have those protective screens, so you don't break them accidentally.
Build AI that can beat my child for me. People are afraid of, like, no. I need an AI that can bot my kid when they're making mistakes. You're so sweet, by the way, Simone. What are we doing for dinner tonight? What's the story?
We are doing more pineapple curry for you.
I can
try to do fried plantains for the first time. I'm a little nervous. We'll try.
Please try. You cannot mess it up too much. And worst case scenario, I'll just microwave some rice.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Yeah. What I do is I make coconut lime rice for Malcolm in big batches, and then I freeze it in single serve packets in the freezer.
God, you used to pay like $6 for coconut lime rice as, like, instead of like the $2 rice at like restaurants, and you're like making it for free. What? Not for free. I mean, you put in all this effort and love.
Well, we're still paying for the coconut and for limes. it does cost extra.
Barely nothing. Like,
yeah, what is a Trader Joe's can of coconut milk? Like, is it like
what you are
$1.50?
missing is that if you go to like an Indian or Japanese restaurant, like the coconut lime rice or the coconut or lime rice costs like $6, and the other rice costs like $1.50.
No, it's true. Yeah, the upcharge is insane for that stuff. Really gets my goat.
But like, they've never been able to make curry as good as your tropical curry, which I
know
love.
What also is insane in terms of upcharges though is garlic naan versus butter naan. Like, are you kidding me?
It's literally you're just slapping garlic on top.
Yeah, like I know you have a lot of minced garlic sitting back there. I know you do. Why are you charging me 30% more?
For exactly,
sometimes even 50% more. Like typically you'll see, yeah, if plain naan is $3, then garlic naan is $5. Right? It's insane.
It makes no sense if you understand how they're made.
It's bad. It's
price discrimination right there. I love you, Simone, for learning how to make all these dishes. You didn't when we got married. You are the perfect wife. You are a heavenly beast.
Oh.
And I mean that in the most adorational possible way.
Well, I live to serve, and I mean that in the most submissive and breedable way. That's so cringe. Instant regret. Instant regret. Your mic fell out again.
That is what every guy wants. I'll tell you what.
Okay, well,
submissive and breedable wives, and every woman doesn't want that. I've read 50 Shades of Grey. Okay, I've read these.
I don't think did they in the series. Do they? I don't think they ever have kids. Do they? I mean,
no. But I've seen the progressives who go out there cosplaying as like, you know,
women.
Yeah, you should watch our episode on that if you haven't seen.
Yeah, it's funny. They don't cosplay as the Marthas. They don't cosplay as like the wives.
These actually oppressed people.
Yeah, because actually the handmaids have a fairly privileged role. You know,
they're like,
food,
breed me. Hi.
Yeah, they're like, why do they dress up with the sexual fetish lens in this whole series?
You know why? We all know why.
It's a little questionable. Yeah. People who think that we're perverted, just read The Pragmatist Guide to Sexuality. You'll discover how we actually feel about sex. I think people think that we're like really into it because we talk about it. When we talk about it the same way, your mic's unplugged again.
No. Sorry, I don't think that confused by this. I don't think there's anybody who's like, oh, they're actually like really in. I think that's why we're able to talk about it, because people know that like we are not into it, and so it's not like
no. Like people have DM'd me and they're like, oh, I bet you're into this. I'm like, oh, I bet you like no. We did no. Anyway,
well, they're just people reading themselves into us, I think, is what it is often.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that, and that happens a lot. Like when you relate to someone, you think they're smart, you're also going to assume that they live like you do, enjoy what you do, and agree with most of your things. Which
is okay, because we are smart. Anyway, I love you to death, Simone. I cannot wait to dig into that curry tonight. And what if you get these plantains? Wow, you're going to unlock a whole new level.
I don't know. I'm nervous. We'll see.
Slice and fry.
But I mean, what could go wrong with like butter? You know, like
all you're doing is putting them in boiling oil.
Butter.
Or butter.
No, I think butter's better. Anyway, I will go. Goodbye. Okay, Octavian, what do you want to say to the people?
I love my army men right over there.
He loves his army men.
Yeah, right, because they're fun. And my Google because it's so fun.
It shows you army men videos.
Yeah.
Titan, what do you want to say? That's it. Andy, what do you want to say?
Oh, he's trying to learn how to talk.
Oh, she's still working on it. All right. Yeah. I love you guys all very much.
Well, Wendy's 1 year old now.
She is.
Yeah, so I already gave him whistles. So he can play with my army men as my whist when he becomes 5 years old. Like, I'm 5 years old.
And I love you. And I love you too, Titan.
I
And
can
I love
I
you
see
too,
the picture I
and I love
just
Josie
made?
too.
I want to see the picture I just made with Cindy
Okay.
and me and Titan.
Okay. Let's watch.
And your mom.